On the Throttle is brought to you by Sport Bike Wrench. Performance parts, professional advice.
And then we use a little bit of this high grip tape. We're trying to stay away from the skateboard grip tape because it's so coarse, it rips up pants right away. This you can actually find at AutoZone. What is it called? So this is the piece you can find at AutoZone. It's just called like slip tape or traction tape. One of the ones that works really well and doesn't rip up the pants so much. I don't necessarily recommend it for your average street rider because you're going to go through jeans real quick, and if you're somebody that has nice jeans, it's a hell of a thing to do, to waste them. So up top here, what I've done is traditionally with the 636, with the stock clip-ons, they're underneath the triple tree and they're angled down and turned real far inwards. For my competition bike, just to get a little extra clearance, what I've done is I bought aftermarket clip-ons and I put them on top by lowering the front end a little bit, which also helps for some burnouts and some of the other tricks that we do. Having a lower front end is actually an advantage. I've done that, placed them on top of the triple tree here, and actually instead of being angled down, I flipped the sides, so the left is on the right and corresponding for the other side, and they're angled up just a little bit, and that gives you pretty much just a leverage advantage. So when you're on top of the bike and you're working it and you're in a wheelie and you're really starting to get some lean angle in, you have a little bit more leverage to shove down with your arms.
I run the Freestyle Ingenuity 0-degree clip-ons. There's no angle on them. And on this bike, actually, the stock setting is, they're actually underneath the clip-ons, which is, for me and for Nick also, it kind of puts us at a weird position to where we can't get the most leverage out of the bike. So we kind of pull them up, lower the front end a little bit, throw the clip-ons on top, gives us a little more leverage, able to do a lot more different tricks and push it a little harder. Lets you ride a little more aggressive and on the edge. It just gives you a different control and different feel on the bike.
And then of course, pretty much everything else I try to keep as stock as possible because stock things never fail. I got a stock front master cylinder for the front brakes. All I did was shave the lever off a little bit. That way that if I do have a crash, especially if I'm in a competition, it's not going to snap my lever off and prevent me from moving forward. I keep stock lines on it, although steel braided lines are not a bad thing. I have them on my other bike. I use this because in lower speed endos you can make some more mistakes with the bike. You're not going to find yourself flipping over the front because you were really high in the balance point and you just leaned forward for a second and lost your concentration. As you'll see here, this is my custom blown fork seal. I find it to be an integral part of my riding ability. The more often I blow fork seals, the more often my endos turn to crap. It's a great advantage that I have. It usually keeps me low down in the placing in competitions. But in all seriousness, I actually I passed XDL Tech at the competition we had, and I blew the fork seal the same day. So I did the custom. This is what I refer to as a fork condom. Maybe not the most PC thing, but it works the best. Literally, you just cut a rag, a couple zip ties on there, and it'll soak up most of the fluid and keep it off the brake pads and the rotor. This has been ridden on since I basically prepped it up. So it is starting to soak in. You'll see today that you still can do endos with blown fork seals, although it's definitely not something I'd ever recommend.
Somewhere along the lines, we dropped the ball here.
This is God's gift to the finger. It is basically any easy pull system. An MSR Pro Raptor. This is a Moose Easy Pull here. I wish you'd give them to me for free, Moose. I would really love you if you did that. They're one of the nicest, easiest things to do. Literally, you can use your pinky finger for the clutch, and hardly any effort will get it to disengage. So when you're in a wheelie and you're really feathering it, it just gives you this excellent feel, and it saves the fatigue, as opposed to a stock clutch where sometimes, the more throughout the day you go, you're gonna be 2-fingering it and 3-fingering it, and arm pump is gonna happen. This all day long, no problems whatsoever. Here I have a Brembo Front Master. This one is actually a 19 by 18 millimeter, although I do prefer the 16 millimeter. Brembos are rebuildable, which means they break. Unfortunately, every time you hear something, oh, it's a rebuildable product, that means it's a product that probably after about a year's service is gonna need to be redone. Brembos are the same way, and so just before the competition, my 16 millimeter blew all of its seals, and I had to borrow one from a friend. So I got lucky for that. But that's basically your overall stunt bike. The only other thing that I have right here is this custom hardwired fan. Literally, I had it on a toggle switch, although I pulled off the toggle switch because I seem to remember more if it's just literally exposed wires. So anytime that I want to, I can hook up the fan and have it blow. And with stunt riding, it's a lot of low speed to high speed, and a lot of the burnouts will overheat the engine, and having the fan constantly run is a great tool to keep the engine temperature down, or coolant temperature, that is. This is a bike that's set up for war. Basically, you can toss this thing off a cliff, you can bang it off the rev limiter for 5 minutes in a burnout, put it away wet, pick it up the next morning, and it'll be asking for more. The Kawasaki 636 is a great bike to do this. Kind of like the Honda F4i, those are two of the staple bikes that we use.
I hate to say it, but a lot of the parts that we do run, we run them down to the point till they don't work no more. We don't change them until they're not working. And a lot of times, I mean, it could just be our shocks. Our rear shock could just be completely blown out, and it's something that is evolving as the sport goes. The more and more we ride, the more and more competition builds up and gets better, the more we're starting to look at little things that can make us better riders. And you know, that's in the end, that's going to be what's going to give us the edge on other riders and give us the edge on competition. And it's just one of those things that we've gotten so into this that we're kind of learning as we go, and starting to really push, you know, the level of the bikes and the level of our riding and the whole level of the sport. And I think as we go on, you know, something like a suspension setting and you know, rebuilding maybe aftermarket springs and suspension, maybe even aftermarket suspension. I know a lot of riders are already running aftermarket suspension. We're just running all stock suspension on everything, and that's definitely something we're going to start looking to in the future. We've even talked about maybe even building more performance-driven motors. For the most part, we run everything stock with maybe, you know, the biggest thing that we put on this thing may just be like an aftermarket exhaust, which isn't the most, you know, isn't going to give us the most performance. So I think as the sport grows, I think there's going to be more avenues that we start to look into as far as building our performance on the bikes. So.